What up, everyone? Thank you for joining us on another episode of Spinsters. Coming to you from a Zoom call. I mean, get ready for it. We're very excited. Mandy did ultimately book a trip.
Damn right. No thanks to the listeners.
Yeah, no thanks to listeners. No one had any ideas. No one had any suggestions.
We tried. Apparently, they want us to just kill ourselves or kill each other, one or the other.
And she's in Provincetown. Provincetown with King. Oh, and Andy. So Mandy, Andy, and King are in Provincetown at the moment.
I mean, we thought it would just be me, but Andy had to come for some reason. And it's just like, okay, Andy, but I need to lift the dog. Anyway.
Well, the whole reason Andy's there is because, so King, you guys are walking around and taking a lot of walks and heading to the ocean. And King's, 10 years old and he gets a little tired. So
King loves the ocean. He loves going for walks, but he just forgets that he's old and has bad legs because Basset legs are not supposed to go in the way in which they go. They should not be tilted out to the side, but they are. And so he has some leg issues. And I get to carry him. Yes, Andy, you do. You get to. So
but there's a lot of picking up of a 50, 60 pound dog.
I have to pick him up to put him in the car. No, you don't. I do because I'm Andy. All right. Sorry. Andy gets to pick him up and put him out of the car. Yeah, he gets to pick him up and take him off the bed. And it's the best. Yes, Andy, it's fantastic. I really like the fact that because you're working out so much, Andy, my arms now hurt. Exercise! Exercise is dumb. So yeah, we've had a lovely time here in the old P town.
And thank you, Andy, for joining the podcast this week. But I think we've heard enough from you.
Andy, go take a seat. I don't care. Out of my face.
But it's also good about your time in Provincetown, Mandy. So you get to see some sun. You get to be on the Cape on the off season, get to walk around with King and he can chase the waves. You also, you get to watch the Bruins live to your heart's content.
It is lovely to be able to watch the Bruins. However, Terry, I had a little bit of a scare. The Red Sox somehow take over regular Nesson. And in this hotel here, I saw regular Nesson and I was excited to watch the Bruins game. And then I saw that the Red Sox were on and I'm like, what the F, man? Where am I going to watch the Bruins? Lo and behold, Terry, they did have the Nesson Plus here as well. So I panicked for no reason, which I know is super weird.
I know you never do that.
No, I never just jump to conclusions. So rest easy. I got to watch the Bruins and they won, Terry, last night.
Oh,
Big 2 points. Big 2 points
nice.
Against the Pens. Yeah.
Happy to hear that. While you're out there watching the Bruins, I'm currently watching my new foreign show, which, as you know, that's sort of just we'll binge and I'll go from one foreign thriller drama to the next.
Is this one about spies as well?
No, it's not really about spies, but it's possible war and it's Norwegian. It's called Occupied. I'm not going to get into all the whole plot right now, but look it up on Netflix. Oh yeah, you wouldn't be snoring if you watched this show. It's so good. So that's what I'm watching. And also I'm reading a book that I can't shake. And
which one is it?
The Cruelty Men. It's
is that the Irish one?
Yeah. It's by the author. Her name is, and I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Amir Martin. And I got this book from Lori. And if Lori's listening, thanks, Lori. I sort of love and hate you for giving me this book because it's just one of those full on depressing Irish books about kids that are abandoned and, over the course of 20 years, what happens to them. And we've got, the laundries, we've got the old, the workhouses, the asylums, and just terrible treatment.
Wow.
But yeah, it's really good and beautifully written. And I just want to put the book down and cry for humanity and for the people of Ireland, like every 10 minutes. Yeah.
So it's not really, you wouldn't call it a light read.
It's not a light read.
Okay.
It's a really nice read. And it's well written, but it's, you can't shake it. Really.
Oh,
so
gosh.
Anyway, Mandy, before you went off to P-Town, we did have a bit of an eventful weekend.
We sure did, Terry.
Starting with a bout of hypochondria on Friday night that led to a hospital stay for Mandy.
Yeah. Listen, it's not hypochondria when it's real, which this wasn't. So I guess hypochondria is accurate. So I had my second dose of the old COVID vaccine. So the house is now 3/4 vaxxed. And I started to feel a little bit numbness in my extremities and forearm and called the nurse on call to say, hey, is this normal? And she was like, yeah, no, it's not. You're going to go ahead and need to bring yourself to the ER. And Terry and I were discussing which one to go to. And we're in Boston, so there are quite a few ERs to choose from.
Yeah, we could have gone like an extra 10 minutes and made our way to Longwood. But anyway, we digress.
But I was
so
like,
we end up at this one.
Yeah, because I was probably dying. So I had to get to the closest one possible. I went in, they basically started testing me for having a potential stroke. And I'm like, well, that's comforting.
They admitted you because they wanted to run an MRI on Saturday morning. So you had to stay overnight.
Right. Yeah. But not like admitted, just staying overnight in the ER. I didn't have my own private room. I really enjoyed listening to nurses yell at each other, like a little bit of tension between the nurses, which was obvious.
You were saying that there's just like tension coming from these nurses at each other.
Yeah. I mean, this is not, and I shouldn't knock it because it's a pretty high stress job. No one's questioning that. And they were lovely to the patients. They were absolutely lovely to the patients, but it was like, dude, guys, take it down. Like at one point I had to use the restroom. There was an ass hair on the toilet seat. Ass hair, Terry. Well, it was towards the back where like your ass would sit. So I figured it was an ass hair. Thanks for making me relive that disgusting moment in my life. Appreciate it.
You said it wasn't very clean around that ER. There was trash, garbage. They weren't really sanitizing. So I think that was more the disturbing part too.
Yeah, it was a little bit gross. So, I mean, needless to say, I needed to get the heck out of there. So when they finally discharged me, I called Terry and she's like, okay. But I was like, I'm out. And I started walking because I couldn't stay another friggin' minute in that place. I'm like, I don't care.
Her up on the road, on the side of the road. I mean, and I left immediately. I'm like, okay, I'll leave now. She's like, I'm going to start walking.
It was like a walk of shame almost.
Like, was that worth it? Was that really worth it?
No, nor will it be worth the medical bills I get at some point, I'm sure. But
I know.
I mean, at least it gave us some material for this podcast.
Yeah, sure.
Talk about a nasty ass hair on a toilet seat.
Yeah, sure. That's great. I know everyone loved listening to that too.
Yeah, thanks for making it so graphic.
So we moved into more positive things though on Saturday because you got home and then Jill came over with her new little puppy,
baby Penny.
Oh, what so a little freaking adorable. Yeah.
What kind of dog is she?
She's a Rhodesian Ridgeback. She's 9 weeks old. Don't worry, we'll post a picture or two.
I mean, my favorite part about her is how like long and lanky her legs were and how she like didn't know how to use them like a baby giraffe or something. Like it was like I couldn't even handle how adorable she was.
Yeah, she was like a baby giraffe. So cute. Yeah. Sunday, we went over to Denny's place where she had prepared brunch for us.
And it was lovely to see her. It was lovely to eat her delicious food.
Also, aside from just the food, you got to watch your Bruins live again. So much Bruins.
So much Bruins.
So on our way there, we're driving on Columbia Road in Dorchester. And, some local folks may know what we're talking about. So, we're going in from Dorchester into Southie because she lives in Southie. We were stopped at a light. I was driving and Mandy was looking out the window and she's just staring at this property. She's like,
so perplexed.
Stopped. What's going on there? So let's explain. So you've got a duplex property, all right, like side by side. And it was clear that one side was sort of really keeping up with their updates and painting. And they were still in the midst of some construction going on, but they had almost completed this house. So, I mean, it looked good.
The siding's done, the awning, AKA portico.
The awning. The portico. And the other side of the house, the other side of the duplex had fallen into a bit of disrepair. Okay. So it was, but it is what it is. We get it. It's expensive for that upkeep. Okay. That's not really the point here. That's not the weird part is that one side of the duplex was done and the other was not. What was weird is that, as Mandy alluded to, on this portico, the built-in awning, we like to say portico.
We like to portico because it was like ancient Greece.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't, but still.
Yeah, it didn't look anything like that. But what was weird is that there was a crest or a seal, what have you, on the front of this awning. And it was triangular. And Mandy probably, I don't know, like maybe at its tallest in the middle, maybe 3 or 4 feet tall, right?
Yeah, maybe.
And then maybe
5
its
feet
long,
across.
5 feet across. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And the thing was, Mandy, the side of the duplex that had done all their updates, they had repainted. Now this crest had fallen into disrepair. You could tell over the years, like we're talking, it's probably 100 years old or whatever. And it was woodwork, right? There was etching and carving.
Beautiful etching. But the side that had been redone had painted over beautifully the etching. And it was like, that's gorgeous.
The crest looked lovely on one half.
On one side, like exactly one half. There was clearly like someone had put up painter's tape so that the other side wasn't even touched. And that bothered me so much. Why wouldn't they just do the other side? Like, I don't get it.
We developed many theories about this. We didn't know if there was a feud between the owners. We didn't know if there was a history of one side having more upkeep or people hated each other, or someone's just a total dick and didn't want to do it, or it was like so expensive to do the full seal and not just half.
There's no way that it would have cost that much to do the other side. Irregardless, Terry, if these people were trying to either sell or rent out their half, my thought process was, why would you ever put the front of that house online and only have half of the carving like painted? I was like, it just looks dumb. And like, I'm seriously still angry about it.
What we regret though, bitterly, is that we didn't get a picture of that.
Yeah. So if there are already listeners out here that know what house we're talking about.
Some of you know what we're talking about on Columbia Road.
Not only take a picture of it, please take a picture of it, but also if you know the story, I need to know or I won't be able to rest well.
Yeah, we need to know what happened there and why only one half of the crest is painted.
And if you know the people on the other side of the crest, let us know, because I'll go over and paint the goddamn thing myself. All it would have taken, Terry, is like sanding it down, and then repainting. Yeah. Like I can't imagine it would have cost that much.
And you're already doing half of it. So, you're already there. You've got the equipment.
That's the thing. Don't understand. I feel like it would be more precise to have to put the piece of painter's tape down perfectly through the middle.
Make sure that other side didn't get one smidgen of paint on it.
Just do the whole thing.
That's really the point here. Hopefully there's more to come on this, the saga of the crest, of the half painted crest on Columbia Road. We don't know, but we'll try to get back to you on that.
Someone help us.
This week we have a special guest, part of our spinster guests that are coming on. We've got Loretta joining us. We talked about Chinese food. We talked about, a couple people she's dated, just random shooting of the shit, if you will, with Loretta. Loretta makes some jokes about dating and being Asian American woman in the whole dating world and online dating. And we're sensitive to the fact that this is now a new lens on this issue with, especially with Asian American women in this country and being targets, etc. Just know that she makes a few jokes about that. Letting you know, we're aware and sensitive to it. With that,
and without further ado,
strap in,
folks. Here's Loretta.
Loretta, welcome. You're one of our listeners, one of our many listeners.
One of the listeners.
And you're also a bona fide spinster.
I am.
Well, not anymore.
She's in her 40s and she's unmarried. Oh. Though, yes, I see what you're saying, Mandy. She is living with her boyfriend now. So this is murky territory, but you are technically a spinster.
I am technically a spinster.
And one of my favorite things about Loretta is the way she curses. I mean, she curses like a truck driver. She's really good at it.
My sister has kids and I've been cursing in front of them. I don't think it's a good habit. But you know what I mean?
It's not a good habit, but we love how you just let it rip.
I do it at work. I do it in front of kids. It's a problem.
You're a woman after my own heart. Literally, it's all I do is in front of children at work.
Mandy and her coworkers swear all the time, Loretta. I swear. I hear on the other end, I'm like, how can you speak like that on a work call? How does this happen?
Just my coworkers. So that's where I draw the line, right? So no clients.
Of course not.
No outside people, just like coworkers.
All right. So Loretta, you grew up in Newton and you live in West Roxbury. How are things going over there? You're like a whole maybe 5-minute drive, 7-minute drive from us.
I'm liking it. I mean, there's a little too many certain flags in the neighborhood that I don't really particularly like.
Oh, we're saying politically speaking flags.
Yes. But it's nice. It's
interesting.
I like living here because I can afford a small house and
now that you've like redone, you sort of gutted and rebuilt in there and your house looks awesome.
I know. I'm pretty excited about my new kitchen.
Like right before lockdown. So you got to enjoy it while you were totally locked down.
Exactly. It was perfect timing. I used to love having people over at the house because I'm too lazy to like go out.
I know what you mean. I actually prefer to host too. Like I like to cook and I want
and then I can drink and like not worry about like driving anywhere. Like you just come to me and then you figure out a way to get home.
I'm just gonna stay here in my pajamas.
Exactly.
And cook and hang out and drink.
Exactly. Chinese food is meant to be shared. So I grew up having lots of different types of food. My family and I just ordered out Chinese the other day, like legit Chinese food, and we haven't done it in over a year. Let's just say my family went slightly crazy on it. I picked it up. They made the order. I picked it up, and it was like $260 for 7 adults. He's like, here are the 4 bags. I'm like, 4 bags? Getting into my car. He had to help me. And I was like, what? He goes, yeah, the woman that called your mother, she ordered a lot of food. So my family went buck wild.
First giant feed since COVID. So you got to go in with a bang or out with a bang.
All in. There you go.
And when I showed up to my parents' house to eat this dinner, my dad had made like 3 things as well. What the heck is all this? It's like,
Who got the leftovers?
we had to all split up, and it was like super complicated. It was
That
sounds
production.
like a delicious, complicated production. You're Chinese American, Loretta. We have like another level of weird going on because you're Asian American. It's the whole type of dude.
It's like yellow fever. My friend called it that, who's also Chinese. She's like, oh yeah, you pick up a lot of people who are into yellow fever. And I'm like, I'm sorry, say what right now?
Well,
what does that even mean? You find a lot of interesting people.
Yeah. So like it's already weird and awkward enough to be doing online dating and meeting random people and then adding a whole another new screening that you might have to throw on top of it.
It's really bizarre.
Do you have any top of mind stories that you've thought about? Like
two of them. So we'll go from like least weird to most weird. I talked to this guy. It seems totally normal. We meet up at a Starbucks and he seems like very typical like white guy. And then we get to this very small lull in the conversation, like 30 seconds tops. And then he starts telling me all the Chinese people he knows in his work life. He's like, oh yeah, I know these Chinese people. There's like XYZ from here and like ABC from there. And I was just like, okay, do I now tell you like all the white people I know? Like, so
he was telling you because he thought there was a chance you might know all of these Chinese people.
I'm just like, okay, dude, you want me to reciprocate? Like,
wait, I thought this was bad enough. I thought it was bad enough when you play the UMass Amherst game when people are like, oh, I know this person who went to UMass. And you're like, oh, dude, there's like 10,000 people there. No, this is now the country of China and the Chinese diaspora. Like perhaps you know all of these people.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and
clearly.
he'd be like, oh, they speak Mandarin, do you? And I was like, no, I speak Cantonese. And he's like, oh, well, his name is blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. I don't know this person, buddy. I don't know what to tell you.
I don't know who he is. It would have been hysterical if you're like, yeah, well, I know Joe. He's white. Don't you know him?
I know that I work with. I mean, we'll be here for a long time. I could do that.
I know quite a bit of white folks in investment banking.
Another guy had messaged me. I was in New Zealand at the time and staying with my cousin. This guy had messaged me in Chinese, like written it out in Chinese, which I don't understand. I was just like, ignore him. But my cousin was like so interested in this whole dating app thing because she's married. So she was like living vicariously. And I basically texted this guy back. And I was like, dude, I don't speak Chinese. What are you trying to say to me? So he gave us this whole long thing. And then he keeps telling me that he wants to move to China one day. That's great. I don't. I'm an American citizen. I don't want to move to China. I've been there once on vacation and that's it. I'm good. And he's like, oh, okay. And he goes, well, I have a house on the beach. It's like July 4th weekend. And I was like, okay. He goes, you could come and visit me at the house and we could go to the beach.
Why would you do that?
And I was just like, well, hey, I'm like, also, you know, I'd rather not. That's kind of weird. And he's like, I'll buy you a bikini. I'm like, excuse me?
You're like, oh, well, that solves it. I didn't have a bathing suit. Now I have a bathing suit. I gotta go.
Stay in your own room. It'll be like totally fine and legitimate.
The fact that he's using the words legitimate, I'm sorry. Like this is just
and so
so
I'm
many
gonna
red flags.
stop talking to this person.
You know, taking care of that.
Now you're gonna buy me a bikini. We're gonna go shopping. We're gonna go eat. He's gonna treat me to champagne, implying that he's like super loaded. Will totally take care of me. And I'm just like, I'm good, dude. I'm good.
Yeah. He's like, I'm going to get you a bikini and drug you with something inside your champagne on my secluded beach.
Guys, it was
How do you feel about roofies? Yeah.
It was so bizarre.
Did you have a favorite app?
I think I only did 2 of them. I tried doing eHarmony, but all the questions like annoy the shit out of me.
Isn't that one like you have to do your entire life on the application?
Yes. After a while, it was like after like 10 questions, I just made up shit. It's so annoying. I was so over answering all those questions. I think the other one I did was like match.
Was match like, as intense with the questions it asked?
No. But eHarmony, you have to pay. So someone was like, you know, if you really want to be serious, then you want to do eHarmony because obviously the people that pay actually want to be there. And I was like, fine.
So when you were looking at someone else's profile, how much of that did you actually read?
I mean, by the time I finished answering all those questions, I was so annoyed. And I would just be like, no, this person just looks fucking annoying. Their answers are stupid.
That's so stupid.
I think I logged in and Jill was looking at it with me. And she's like married. And she's like, what about this person? Like, there were like different qualities than I would like. And I was like, no. And she'd be like, he looks so nice. I'm like, he looks like an idiot.
Sometimes our friends, they're like, oh, but he looks nice. I'm like, do you know me? Do you have any idea who I am? No.
Imagine if like Jill picked someone for me.
You and
Oh my
Jill would
God.
have very different tastes.
I have the attention span of, I don't know, a goldfish. I would probably get 3 sentences into the eHarmony profile and be like, yeah, swipe left because I can't read this anymore.
That's how I felt after a while. 10 questions in, I was just like, make things up. I'd be like, sure. Time you were at the end of it, you were like, describe yourself. I'd be like, sarcastic,
Snide, petty, vindictive. I hold grudges, never satorified. So how many dates per week on average, you think?
Oh, hardly any. I'm like super picky and annoying.
So you were on the other end of the spectrum. Like some women I know are like, oh yeah, a few dates a week. And others are like, I might find one person a month.
So if someone would message me, I'd be like, okay, do you look crazy? Yes or no? So I dated this one guy for like probably a year and a half, 2 years maybe. We met on the app.
There's nothing you want to share about that ex?
No, there was no weird stories about him. He was pretty, I thought it was going to be like just a one night stand. Really, that's all I wanted. It ended up being a relationship in the end. I was just like, oh, I guess we're going to like see each other again. Oh, I guess we'll see each other again. What the hell's going on right now?
I'm not comfortable with this.
Is this a relationship?
I didn't ask for this at all. No one asked for this.
And then next thing you know, it's like, oh God, you're like several months in. You're like, oh, I guess we're dating now, I guess.
Your first dates, were they mostly coffee dates?
Yeah.
And how far would you be willing to travel for that first date? We will accept any answer you have at either mileage or travel time. Okay.
Probably like 45 minutes.
Yeah, coffee dates are a good start. A coffee date, it's like, okay, this is easy. I'm going to have my coffee. And if I throw it in your face, then this didn't work out.
You could, in theory though, right, Mandy, do that with any beverage that you're drinking, be it alcoholic or non-alcoholic too. You could throw that in someone's face.
True. That's a really good point. But at least with the coffee, it's like
you might burn them with the coffee. That's actually violent.
I do iced coffee 24/7, Terry.
That's
24/7.
Mandy would throw the iced coffee
right up in your face.
The coffee date is nice though, because it's not committed. You could suck that down super fast and be on your way. Right? If you suck down a beer, I cannot hold my liquor at all. So if I suck it down, then I'm actually there so I can like sober up a little. But a coffee, I'm good. Suck it down and go, or you can take it to go.
You meet them in line, like when you're in line ready to order. By the time you get your cup, you're like, I'm out of here. I know this sucks.
Let's both just admit what's going to happen here.
It's also awkward for those coffee dates. Like, who's paying?
I know, but I'm of the opinion, here's where I get a little bit old fashioned. I do think that the dude should pick up that tab the first date. And it's a freaking coffee. So come on, like you don't have to go Dutch on that. Come on.
Well, the problem is one time I showed up, the guy that like asked me, that told me how all the Chinese people he knew, I had shown up first at the Starbucks. So I ordered my coffee because I need a coffee. And he was like upset at me that I already ordered a coffee. And I was like, I need a coffee.
You're late. Yeah.
It's like, don't read into it, dude. I got a coffee.
Because I wanted to be able to talk to you and stay awake because you look like you're boring.
Do you judge people based on what they order?
That's a good question.
I don't really want a guy ordering like all weird fruit drink.
Agree. Yeah. Like if they get whipped cream on that, like, oh no, I don't think so, buddy.
So it's just
I'm like, oh, is that for me?
Yeah, she wants him to walk and be like, I'll have a black coffee. That's it. No, I don't want sugar or cream. Shove it. Give me black.
I'll have like 5 pumps of this, 2 pumps of that. Kidding me right now?
Yeah, if a dude's getting high maintenance on his coffee order, that's not a turn on.
Order a normal coffee, buddy. Yeah.
I feel like even my own coffee would not be an obscene coffee. Like I wouldn't want to look as high maintenance
as you really are. Yeah,
coffee.
Right. Yeah, because we've talked about this. You think about it ahead of time, Mandy. That's what you do. You would know it before you go in there.
I would have to like peruse the menu and know exactly what it is. Because otherwise even if it was an awful cup of coffee, I would force it down. Or if it was awful, as is the dude, I'd be like, this coffee is nasty. So are you. I'm out. Burn. Not literally, because I have ice coffee.
I would just like get my coffee and just walk away. But I could totally see you being like, blah, 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 blah.
Continuing to have a conversation, you mean? Like if she was totally not interested, is that what you mean?
Totally not interested. I could see her getting up being like, you suck, this coffee sucks, peace out.
In my mind, I'm doing that. But in reality, I'm like, oh yeah, this is a really interesting conversation. I hope we keep talking.
That is exactly what you would exude.
Really? I would thought you'd do that in real life.
I talk a good game, Loretta. I'm a big pushover.
The smile will be stuck to her face and she'll be nodding and just there. And she's just like, what are we talking about? I don't even know what we're talking about. Get me out of here.
All I'm thinking about is how much I want to get out of here. That's literally all I'm thinking about.
Isn't that the worst?
So dudes that you've dated, how many of them have just talked nonstop about themselves?
I got this one guy who he just loved talking about himself, like loved it. And he was like super high maintenance, snobby as well.
Snobby and high maintenance? Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah, and he had driven me to the date, and I was just like, oh, stop talking to me.
They think that you're enthralled because you're just quiet. Really, you're not.
I'm not.
And you're like, my accomplishment will be when this date's over.
Yeah.
I have short-term goals, and one is to end this date as quickly as possible.
I actually ended up on a date once, blind date. It was with my friend's girlfriend's coworker. Apparently, he was having an affair with somebody at their office. He wasn't married, but the person that he was with was. And so she had heard that he and I were on a date, and she came to the date to check me out, but I didn't know any of this. So like I met her and I was like, okay, hi. It was so weird.
We couldn't agree more, Loretta. It sure is weird out there. Do you have any weird dating stories? Send them our way. Maybe we'll share them. We thank Loretta for chatting with us this week. And as always, we thank you for tuning in. Until next time, deuces. Thanks for tuning in. Please subscribe to the Spinster Sisters podcast on Apple or Google Podcasts or Spotify. And please follow us on social media,
where our Twitter handle is @SistersSpinster. You can also find us on Instagram @TheSistersSpinster and on Facebook @The Spinster Sisters Podcast. You can also email us at thespinstersisterspodcast@gmail.com. Bye!